I thought I'd talk a little bit about the Department of Education because that's one of the agencies that's already under assault, and we're very worried about it. People often talk about the federal government, oh, it's bloated, it's got too much control, let's just go ahead and cut it or dismantle it. But they often have no idea how much it impacts their families, their children and grandchildren, their communities. I got my start on a board of education, my local school board, so I have a pretty good idea of how important the funding we get from the federal government is. Title I funds. That funds teachers. It supports all kinds of school districts. We get about $60 million in Maine, 300 plus schools take advantage of it. It supports teaching in our schools. If you've ever tried to make ends meet at a school board meeting and know how tricky it is to balance the budget, we need those funds. IDEA, that's special education, that's mandated, and every school struggles to have sufficient funds for special education. There's a mandate that the federal government pays a certain percentage of it. They don't even meet that mandate yet. We get about $65 million in Maine. That's vulnerable, and that's money that's desperately needed in our schools. In fact, Maine overall gets about $250 million from the Department of Education. That's over $2,000 per student. If you're trying to balance the budget every year, or you want to make sure your kids get a good education, that's essential. We also forget that things like Head Start come from the Department of Education, or Pell grants. Most kids in Maine who grow up and decide to go to college depend on those Pell grants to pay their way through college. So when people talk about this as this, massive bureaucracy in Washington, what does it have to do with us? This is funding that comes directly to us. We have local control of education. Policies and curriculum are decided by the very people you elect in your community. That's where those decisions are getting made. This is the kind of assistance that we need. But we now have an unelected billionaire who's only thinking about putting money in his own pocket. He's not auditing. He's in there letting people go, firing people, cutting funds, making it impossible to access these funds. This is total chaos. I do want you to know there's a lot of activity going on. We've got multiple bills going in the House to try to prevent them from doing this, to try to stop Elon Musk. My colleagues are standing outside the Department of Education, protesting and fighting every day. And when we get some critical votes in the House where we can actually block the Republicans on some of the budget things that we're doing, we will let them know loud and clear that we're not going along with them. There's a lawsuit going on this, and that will work its way through the system. We hope that that can stop things. But I think it's important for people to understand when they hear these items on the news and think, oh, get rid of the federal bureaucracy. No, you're talking about your community. You're talking about the students who grow up in your hometown, your family, your grandchildren. You're talking about your own property taxes, which go up if we don't have more money for the federal government. So this is real. It's happening now. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. And it's no way to run a government.